Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board February business meeting to order. If you'll all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you do the roll call? Councilman Alba, President, Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Smeesa. Here. Councilman Nguyen.
Here.
Supervisor Now. I'm here. So the first item on our agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. I'd like to make a motion that the board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with the amendment to table resolutions F, I, and K, change and add and J, and add a resolution to authorize the request of two Ulster County civil service titles. And then we'll add the public hearing topic to a discussion.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I know we have a more people here than normal, and we will be having a public comment portion of the meeting in a little bit, and which we will open the floor up. But we have a few business items to address before we do that. The first is actually we are holding an interview right now. It's for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have one candidate that we are interviewing. We hold these interviews in public. So I would like to welcome Michael to the table. Thank you. Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for your interest in serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I thought I would just give you a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to reach out and let us know that you'd like to join the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Ran into Kate the other day. I think a lot of this happens through that, you know. I was just coming in to get a couple of permits, and I had been on the zoning board several years ago. I think it was 2021, and I was working full time with the New York State Attorney General's office at the time, and I ended up stepping down just because it was difficult to manage both at the same time. And I really enjoyed my time on the zoning board. When I spoke with Kate, she mentioned there was a couple openings, and here I am. So I appreciate the invitation. A little bit about me. I grew up in Ulster County. I went to the school, came back, I worked for a local contractor for about 3 years. I was always handy, like around the house, working with my dad. We had a big property, and I enjoy being outside. And I spent 3 years with a general contractor, learning the trade and realizing pretty quickly that I didn't want to get old and be banging nails in the winter. So it seemed like we always had jobs outside in the winter and inside, you know, in the summer. And I just wanted to try something different. So I did something I never did, which was I took a day off, went to SUNY New Paltz, went to their career development center, didn't have an interview, like a planned meeting or anything, and just knocked on somebody's door who welcomed me in, and 3 months later I was going full-time for a master's program in criminal justice and in the city. the story is quite long. I ended up having 8 different jobs in government, city of New York, state of New York. Became a police officer, went to the FBI National Academy. I left government for about 12 years and worked in compliance in 2 financial institutions in the city. Doing similar work. I was an economic crimes expert, and so I was like in-house running investigations for financial institutions. And then my wife and I we were sort of weekending and up here and in the city during the week for work, and we just had it. And we dreaded those Sunday nights having to drive back to the city. So I was very lucky to get a job at the AG's office in Albany, and we were able to move full time, and that was in 2019. So I guess I'll fast forward to 2021 when I joined the zoning board. I learned a lot. I didn't know that much. I thought I did. Sat on it for a year, heard a lot of variety. We didn't have any requests to look at use variances. They were all as I think typically they were area variances that we saw, but we saw a lot of variations of area variance requests, and I found it very interesting. Rochester is a very unique part of the valley. There's extremely sensitive environmental areas. I learned about riparian buffers. I didn't know what they were before. I can talk about what my understanding of area variances are, if that helps. Talk about, whatever.
Sure,
What-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll probably, what I wanted to ask you is, I'll ask the question, then I'll open it up to the rest of the board. What I wanted to ask, because you have served on the zoning board of appeals in the past, I think I did want to just ask you, what did you learn about town government from that experience?
I learned that there are definitely opportunities to improve the process. This is 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. Almost all of the people that came in before the board had really no idea, little idea what to expect. And I think we did a pretty good job explaining it, but I don't know that we did that every time. I felt like we would get halfway through a meeting and we would have to like stop and reset and explain what the process was. And my understanding is that now things are improved. They're more formal. There are written materials that people can look at. And if I was going through that process, that's the kind of thing I'd want to know. Like coming in cold, you really don't know what to expect. Other things I learned was, there are resources available to the zoning. The ECC is one that we took advantage of, and they did a fantastic job looking at something, an area variance. There's actually 3 area variances in one application. There was a side yard setback. There was a stream, 100-foot stream, and there was a high water mark, also 100 foot. And the home site proposed was violating all 3 of those things. It was in a very sensitive area of town, right with the stream, of course. And BCC, was an outlet for us that helped us sort of resolve it. I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about town code. I think I have to refresh myself on some of it, but and like I said, I never sat on a use variance matter. I understand they're quite challenging for the applicant because they actually have to prove their case. They have to prove a financial detriment. And it- when I think about the area variances, it was more like we're a pressure valve. And, you know, you have the zoning code, you have what the homeowner wants to do, and the zoning, it would violate the zoning codes for them to do what they want to do. So the pressure valve is the ZBA, and we try to find a way to manage what the homeowner wants to do and weigh that against, will it affect the character of the neighborhood? Is it substantial? Like, is it a substantial variance that they're asking for? Was the issue self-created, the applicant? And are there other options available that maybe the homeowner didn't think of that would result in a smaller variance? Because that's the ultimate goal, is get that variance as small as you can, or even eliminate it if possible. And there are situations where reviewing the applications, going to the actual property, you might see an opportunity for an alternative that maybe the homeowner didn't think of. And that's the best case scenario, where you're not having, there isn't a violation, there is no variance. It's just, hey, we're gonna put that garage somewhere else. Doesn't often work out that way, but that's the goal. And so it's like this pressure valve system that I think works pretty well. I appreciated everybody's, you know, input on the board. Everybody has their own sort of perspective. I think they want the right outcome, like a good outcome for everyone. And it's not like one person's always gonna think of everything, you know, so it's nice to hear, you know, what others have to say and ask of the applicant, you know, during the session. Making the process available to the public, incredibly important. Getting that public comment out, getting the mailings out to people 500 feet of, you know, the property that's under question, and giving people an opportunity to come and say something. So we learned in those instances as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That was very thorough. I'll turn it over to the board, if you have any questions.
I do.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate you coming out, volunteering for this. You mentioned how everyone brings a different perspective to the ZBA and how it's good to hear those different opinions and thoughts about things. I'm curious what you think overarching philosophically the role of the ZBA is in town, what it should be. And in terms of those differing perspectives, what kind of perspective do you think you bring? What voice would you add to the ZBA?
I like to think that, well, it's a quasi judicial position. It's administrative, but it's quasi judicial. And so you're balancing, you're weighing the situation. And I think, like my dad always told me, you know, it's good to be well-rounded. I think I am the epitome of a well-rounded person. I worked on Wall Street, I banged nails in Rochester. So like, I don't know how you can get more different than that. And I seem to get along with everybody where I've worked, collaborating with people I work with. So what I hope to bring is I invite people to share their thoughts. I will not tolerate others shutting others down. I think it's important to create an environment that's welcoming and allowing people to share their thoughts, even if maybe you have a different perspective. That's what I hope to achieve on the board. Thank you.
So all of your roles have been in Rochester and you've been here decades. Can you talk a little bit about how things have changed and what opportunities and challenges come along with the applications that you anticipate seeing development? Have you been following the applications to the planning board at all?
I haven't seen them all, but I've seen enough. I've bought the land our house sits on in '94. It was over a decade after IBM shut down Kingston, and the area was depressed, the home prices were depressed. And properties could be snapped up relatively easily back then. I couldn't afford our place today, the land that it sits on. Post-COVID, that's a whole nother world. And I think the pressure to develop is gonna continue to increase. I think roles like the planning board and zoning board are critically important to make sure that we do have a lack of housing. That's, no secret. We need to increase, the homes and availability for affordable living in town. But we need to do it in a way that maintains the character of the community. The scenery, the farmland. And the things that drew us here to begin with, a lot of us. And so it's balancing those competing interests. I think there's solutions to it. I think it can be done thoughtfully, but
Can you talk a little bit more about that? So what I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out is how much of this role is subjective, like something like the character of the neighborhood is subjective, right? Maybe, do you accept that, or do you think that you could say you could put a point value on this if you're looking at a scoring rubric? What's your approach to that?
that's a good question. I think some of it is plain on its face. And when you see it, if something is clearly out of character. I also strongly believe that people should have the right to build on their property. It's a right, and just, I think the town is also right in trying to protect that very valuable character that we've had here for centuries. And, I'm not sure if I answered.
Yeah, it's just more about the thought process and how you approach the job.
When I was a detective, I learned some hard lessons that you shouldn't jump to conclusions and think you know everything. Especially, talking to one person, one witness, one person on the street. You're gonna get their perspective. You're not gonna get maybe the truth, right? So I keep an open mind. I'm, I guess, personally skeptical of everything, and I think that's healthy because I leave open the possibility of something else coming along to explain something, or coming up with a different solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Charlotte, Suzette, thank you for applying and for putting your name out there. I just have one, really simple, hopefully easy to answer question. Are you an eligible elector of the town of Rochester?
Yes,
Yeah, you're registered to vote here, your driver's license
I am.
is for here.
yes.
No more questions.
Okay. Was
That's a legal requirement.
It's a legal requirement.
somebody say it's a question? Watch out.
Yeah, depends on, you would hope it's easy if you apply to be on a board in town, but it's not always. So thank you so much though for taking your time to meet with that.
What do you think the biggest challenges that what faces are, and what do you think the path to mitigate those challenges would be?
The zoning board, I think that, there's a fair amount of turnover, there always has been. Yeah. I think it's a matter of identifying quality people. And figuring out, what it is that will keep them happy. On the board. I think for most of us, I speak for myself. It's being able to, you feel like you're contributing, you're learning. And, you know, things are a little different in the zoning board meetings. They're never two that are exactly the same. They're always some twist, even a lot line, you know, moving a lot line. Be complicated, you know, on its face, each somehow. But you know, so it's. I sat on the board, I saw people come and go, some people stayed a long time. I think what you want is the people that stay a long time to be your strong contributors, the leaders. And I know life happens and things come up and people get busy, it happened to me. I guess giving people an idea of sense of like, I'm back, right? I know what I'm coming to. It's hard, I think, to explain to somebody what the job is. It's more involved than you would think. I mean, if you want to do it right, you have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort. There's reading, there's training. I like going to sites as a personal thing. You always learn something in the field that you wouldn't have known by looking at the plat, you know, but so maybe there's a way to you know, an outreach process where those type of candidates can be identified and welcomed into the process. I think that would help.
Well, I think that's all that I need. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I hope to hear from you. If anything comes up after I leave, please feel free to reach out.
Definitely, I'll be in touch.
Have a good meeting.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. Okay, so we'll try to get through this.
I'd like to make a motion to move the public comment period to the next item of the agenda.
I'll second the discussion.
I think it'd be a good idea, so. It's pretty state their comments, I mean, way to inform stuff.
I think as a note of principle that. It's not a practice that we can make common. I'm happy to do it for tonight with so many parents here with their young children's, but just for. Future record, I think that it's not a practice that we should make common to move the public comment before
Yeah,
our.
we've done it
Our
before.
report.
Textually, we've done it.
No, I know we have. I just think that it's not, I think if people come to, I think this is a different circumstance, but I think if people are coming to our meeting, they can at least sit through the town reports before making their comment. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean,
Michael?
I don't like changing the agenda just because people sometimes plan and come when they know the public comment's gonna be there. I'd hate to have people arrive later expecting to be able to comment and then not being able to do it. I think if the board wants to change it, we should change it permanently. Actually have all agendas structured that way.
So we have a motion and a second on the table, so we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So we're moving the public comment portion of the meeting to ahead of our report section. So I would just like to state that this public comment portion of the meeting is structured like we do our public hearings. We do not use this as a question and answer session. So that's, if you ask us questions, you may ask us questions, that's totally fine, but we won't be pausing to answer them. And we won't be answering questions in between people who are commenting. So I just wanted to share that. We also ask that you are addressing the board because you're here to talk to us, and that comments not be made in the form of debate or conversation among people present. That just helps it keep orderly. I did have a sign-in sheet for comments that was up at the door. While we get that, one of the things I was going to do ahead of this in my supervisor report was acknowledge that we did receive 38 comments from parents and community members in the last few days regarding the closure of the Acorn Waldorf School. And I know that many of you are here because of that. And I want to share that we.
I'm sorry, I got 80 emails about this.
Okay.
So, sorry, I just was confused when you said 38 for a second.
Okay.
I didn't realize that you guys weren't on.
So what I just wanted to say is that we as a board and the town are not taking a stance against the school. We're very supportive of the school. We want this to work out. We want to see the school reopen. I understand how deeply this matters to families and staff and former students. I've read all the letters and I do hear the pain and disruption that this has caused. And I also understand that for many, the town's actions feel abrupt and deeply upsetting. And some have questioned whether this was warranted. One of the things I just wanted to share before we get into the public comment, just for some perspective, is that in our role as public officials, we all take an oath of office. And that is that I, the public official, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office according to the best of my ability. And what that means for us is that we are following laws and roles like code enforcement officer and town supervisor and town board. We do have different statutory laws that we're following. And I just wanted to share that in this case, our code enforcement officer went for a scheduled fire safety inspection and found that there was no CO for the structures. So right now, that is where we are at. The town is willing and is working cooperatively with the school to make the plan for the next steps to get us where we need to go. So I just wanted to share that because that sentiment, some of that was a big question in a lot of the letters, and perhaps that can be helpful to anyone wanting to speak tonight. What I would also like to say is that we will not respond to questions or comment made while you're speaking during the public comment portion. However, perhaps after we close it, we could make a motion to have town board member time immediately follow. Because we typically will, especially for something like this, and I know that there are people here for some other issues in town that are, that people would like to address with us, that we address those right after the public comment portion of the meeting. So I do encourage you to stick around for that. I know people might want to just get up and leave, but we do discuss the issues afterwards, and that could also be helpful. Our meeting is also streamed on YouTube, so you can watch it after if you need to go. So with that, I will open the public comment portion of the meeting. The first speaker that we have signed up is Matthew Burr.
Do I just stand here?
Yes, of course.
Wherever you want.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna interrupt, but if anybody has anything they're looking to read, if that could be emailed to the clerk, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having us all. So my name is Matt Burr. I'm a parent at Acorn Waldorf School. I have a 5-year-old and who's there currently, and an 11-year-old who went to kindergarten there. I'm also the chair of the Parent Action Committee, so I'm helping to coordinate the parents' response to the closure. So I have a quick statement. There's 3 of us that have statements, and then we're excited to hear response. Acorn Waldorf School is a nationally renowned early childhood program situated on an 11-acre campus in the heart of the town of Rochester. The school has served generations of children, families with an educational experience that is like nothing else in the world. Its unique approach to outdoor education has become a model for new nature-based early childhood programs across Ulster County, New York, and the country. Its neighboring Tree Project is bringing outdoor education to public schools in Kingston and Head Start programs around the county. Children who graduate from Acorn are confident, capable, and resilient learners who go on to thrive in a wide range of primary and secondary school environments. Acorn, as you know, is also an essential pillar of the town of Rochester community. Right now, we serve more than 50 families, employ more than 20 teachers. It is a beacon that attracts new families to the area. It's a gravitational force that helps keep some of our longest standing families here, and it contributes in countless ways to the social, cultural, and economic life of the town. Acorn is an outdoor school. From March through November, children spend most of their time outside. My 5-year-old started in summer camp and was there. And the first time she stepped into one of the yurts was actually in the middle of December. Kids spend their time outside. The campus also includes, as I'm sure you know now, 4 yurts. These function as storage facilities, warming centers during the winter months, and as occasional shelter from inclement weather throughout the rest of the year. For its entire 15-year history, Acorn has maintained a strong and cooperative relationship with the town of Rochester. The school has passed annual building inspections every year since its founding. On February 5th, that relationship was abruptly disrupted. Our newly appointed building inspector ordered the immediate closure of the school on the grounds that he considered the certificate of compliance that has governed the school's yurts for 15 years to be invalid, and that they now required a certificate of occupancy. Notably, the officer has not identified any condition posing an immediate danger to life or safety, nor does the order cite any specific structure, fire, or habitability defect. After the order was given last week, the school brought its own structural engineer on site, and he has confirmed that the yurts are structurally sound and do not pose any immediate danger to life or safety. As a result of the closure, Acorn now faces an existential crisis. With limited financial resources, the school cannot withstand a prolonged closure. Our children have lost their school. Parents are facing impossible trade-offs at work. Teachers and staff are threatened with the loss of their livelihood, and the town of Rochester risks losing permanently a thriving and deeply valued institution. The consequences for all of us will be profound, but they will be especially profound for our children. We now know that prolonged disruptions in early childhood education have deep and lasting negative effects on childhood development. So closing the school should be the policy choice of absolute last resort, made after careful consideration of all alternatives, not the very first choice made in a vacuum, as it was here. The very first communication that Acorn Waldorf School ever had with the new inspector was the shutdown order. Although there are no safety issues, we know that there are certain key areas where Acorn now needs to come into compliance with the code in order to be issued a CO. We're working tirelessly with engineers, lawyers, and building experts to solve the problem. We will be presenting next week a detailed set of engineering drawings for the yurt, a clear indication of any areas where they may be not compliant with the code, and a remediation plan for bringing them up to code. Alongside that information, we will be asking for a temporary certificate of occupancy, and we will agree to certain restrictions that will allow us, we hope, to reopen the school on February 23rd after the children return from a planned winter break next week. We have a week off next week to try to solve the problem. This is not an unusual request. We are also in contact with a number of schools and institutions across New York State that have yurts that are structurally identical to ours and have valid permanent COs. It's concerning to me and Aaron. I know we were there at the meeting on Monday when the chief enforcement officer told us that there is not a single yurt in the state of New York that has a valid CO. A 5-minute Google search told me that there are hundreds of yurts around the state of New York that are being used as classrooms with valid COs, including in New York State parks and other New York State institutions. I'm concerned that he made this decision with a very limited set of information and assumptions that are not true. There is, in fact, a very clear path for bringing yurts into, if you decide that a yurt requires a CO, which is up to the discretion of the CEO, there's a very clear path for doing that. We're coming in front of the town board and the supervisor this evening to ask for your help in expediting this process and providing any resources available to you to help us to reopen the school. Time is of the essence. We have days and weeks, not months, or this school will close. We need to move at lightning speed, and we need all of your help to do that. We know that the town supervisor and the board do not have the legal or ethical authority to intervene in an individual code enforcement decision. But we also know that this crisis that threatens to destroy Acorn is a direct result of a very real policy change in the town that originated in this board and was brought to life in the hiring of the new enforcement officer. Personnel is policy. This is a person you hired. He's following your directions. I understand that the town has a very noble goal of shifting from what some may have characterized as a more relaxed approach to enforcement to a stricter approach. And I actually am very happy about that. I think it's an important step forward for us as a town, and I commend you for that. But we should not lie to ourselves. This is an enormous change in the relationship between the building office and the community in this town. And this policy change should have been better publicly communicated and brought to the attention of the community and community leaders in such a way that gave us all time and space to adapt. A change like this to the built environment of town will require investment, work, and time. Instead, the community as a whole is learning about this change through the abrupt and immediate closure of a beloved institution that has worked in close partnership with the town and was given no dialogue or path to remediation before the action was taken. We urge the town board and supervisor to reflect on the unintended consequences of the approach that you've taken and to adapt your approach before other beloved institutions in our town face the same fate. Our final request tonight is of the community at large. If you have the skills, resources, or relationships to help us weather this crisis, we need you now. Acorn Waldorf School is a bright light of hope and joy and goodness in a time of darkness and fear. Please don't let that light be extinguished. Don't let the darkness win. Help us see Acorn Waldorf School. Thank you.
Salvatore. Hi.
I'm Pembra. And I live in Ackford with my husband and our two amazing daughters, Isola and Skatespeed. Isola and Zaya. Isola's 5 and Zaya's 2, and they go to the Acorn Waldorf School. We came here to Ackford to have Isola. We rented a friend's house and we immediately fell in love with the town and the land and the people. And Ackford had this incredible feeling and presence that we couldn't put our finger on. And we hadn't found anywhere else, and we were looking very hard. We started dreaming about staying here permanently after Isola was born, and while we were still waiting for her, we drove by the Acorn Waldorf School sign on Lucas Turnpike. We looked into the school and we talked to people about it, and people seemed to talk about it with the same quality that we loved about the town. It just had this specialness that was indescribable, and we felt so lucky to come to these two places that we would be so hopeful and grateful to be a part of. And so after Isola was born, we moved here, and we couldn't go to the school yet because she was only 4 months, but we did begin our commitment to the town. And as soon as we moved here, we reached out to people involved with the town to ask, how can we help? How can we understand what the people in the town want and need, across all the political spectrum, and what can we do? And so we started canvassing and holding events related to the town at our home. and working on environmental issues related to the town. And I only bring this all up because actually our love and commitment to the town came first. We got to go to the school and we realized that the school was as incredible as we hoped it would be. It is a singular place where teachers and parents intentionally commit to the growth of the students in a way, and the growth of us as parents in a way that I didn't even know was possible. And so you don't have to be familiar with Waldorf education to share some of the values that the school has. And I see in the town, thank you. I think I stopped, but I could probably use it for everyone. I see in the town a lot of similarities to the school. You know, there's an investment and a care of the land that helps us all grow, that helps the town grow and helps our children grow. There's a fostering of resilience and ingenuity that a rural town like ours needs and that our children need today more than ever. And there is this relentless, unconditional commitment to community that we all share. And so you might imagine for a family like ours, who loves the town and loves the school, that is very disorienting when the town and the school have a big problem. Because we are the town and we are the school, and then it feels like we're fighting ourselves. And we don't want that. And I know you don't want that. And we don't want this story to be a story for our town and for our children and for our families and for our community that crumbles under law or difference of perspective. We don't need more stories like that. We need stories for our family and our town and our community where we acknowledge that we have things in common. And I appreciate you saying that, Erin, to open, and that we can do this together. And we have to do it, as Matt said, very quickly. And it's going to be a challenge for all of us. And I want to just close by telling a story that I heard of someone asking Motria in the aftermath of the immediate closure of the school, "How are you?" And she said, "I'm made for this." And it was a shocking response. But I think that, like, the town can be made for this, and we are made for this together. And I really just ask for all of your help and expediency in doing this together and for each other and for the town and the school and family and the community. I thank you for your time.
Jessie Goldberg.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for moving up the public comment section, and Erin for your comments to lead this off. I think it starts us off in a really good, positive way. My name is Jesse Goldfarb, and I'm the proud father of 2 current Acorn kids. My daughter Lucy has been there 3 years, and my son Toby 2 years. Lucy and Toby absolutely love going there. My wife Isabel and I found that it meets our high standards for safety and all other childhood developmental needs. The teachers and administrators take the utmost care in every aspect of our kids' well. We love these people. I call myself very lucky to be able to live, work, and send my kids to school in the town of Rochester. I own and operate a farm called Tributary Farm, nestled in Allergerville, thankfully just before the town line switches to High Falls. No offense to Marbletown, however. I feel an intimate connection to the land of our town that has been home to many great farms since its founding, and for millennia even before that. This coming spring will only be our 9th season in business at Tributary Farm. Even before I was a parent at Acorn, I met many Acorn kids as they came to pick up their weekly share of vegetables on our farm. Between having this business and now being a parent at the school, I think I probably know around 100 Acorn children. These children embody a confidence in the outdoors that is inspiring, like it's their natural habitat. They carefully use pruners at a young age, cutting flowers. They fearlessly run through tall cover crops to lie down in a perfect hiding place. They help their parents pick out vegetables and are ready to help chop in the kitchen. I'll never forget the best feedback I've ever received, which came from a 5-year-old Acorn student. We have a fall harvest celebration every year, and at vegetable pickup in early fall, he asked me when the party would be this year, because it was his favorite day of the year. Acorn teaches children to care for each other and the land. They do this for all these kids in our community, and the teachers and staff also work with other daycare centers and schools to improve access to outdoor education at other institutions through the Neighboring Tree Project. One of the things I love about our town is that it's a place where diversity of opinions, political beliefs, religions, farming methods, and early childhood education approaches can thrive. And I hope that we can keep it that way. I understand that a new code enforcer might see things differently than a previous code enforcer. Please, however, remember that the previous code enforcer was also a town employee. Imagine how many buildings, businesses, homes might have a code violation due to a change of the inspector's work or interpretation of the rules. An abrupt change like this does the opposite of making our community safer. It makes it unclear, stressful, and unsafe. I want to thank the town board and the staff for their service in making our town a great place to live, and I'm confident we can work together to get our kids back to school soon. Thank you.
Allison Bridges.
Also gonna be reading also, sorry if I'm looking for a lot. So good evening, I'm speaking to you as a mother of 2 Acorn children, 5 and 4, Temperance and Johan, but also as a 3rd-generation local resident. The world has been changing all around us every day, sometimes for the better and sometimes in the opposite direction. My own grandfather was one of 3 who died building the Ashoka Reservoir, forever changing the local landscape. And my dad witnessed the transition from horseback to passenger cars and the creation of the New York State Thruway, forever changing travel and local commerce. And then my own generation has grown up in a time of increased isolation and reliance on technology at the expense of our community and the great outdoors. I've always felt that Ulster County as a whole sits in a very delicate balance, where both thoughtful progress and small town wisdom has worked hand in hand to create and to maintain a life that's very hard for people to find and even harder to replicate once it's lost. I grew up in an era where all of us would spend countless hours outside listening to the calls of local birds, where we could all run in and out of each other's backyards and into the woods to create tree forts and climb the tallest boulders as a rite of passage. We've always felt like we were on our own doing this, charting undiscovered territories, while in reality, we were always under the careful and watchful eyes of our parents and our neighborhoods. Acorn has recreated this feeling for our children here in 2026. It holds sacred those small but crucial moments in our children's earliest memories that they will take with them for the rest of their lives. As an outdoor school program, Acorn understands that the time they spend outside exploring nature and their place within it will shape how they interact with the world and everyone else in it. I cannot recreate the Ulster County of my own childhood, but Acorn is the closest that I could find for my own children. Their amazing staff works to maintain this timeless wisdom while pairing it with the newest developments in early childhood education. As parents, we second guess everything that we do, but I can say without a doubt that choosing Acorn has been one of the clearest, easiest, and best decisions that I've made as a parent. And I believe that will be true for the rest of my life. While I've never wanted to live anywhere else, I did leave to serve in the military like so many of my peers in the early 2000s. During my enlistment, I traveled both the country and the world, and while I love many things and many places, nothing compares to what we have here. When I decided to return home and find my husband and start our family, my biggest wish was to create a calm, stable, consistent, and safe environment for our children. Acorn has helped answer that wish for my family and for all of the families here and so many more that didn't make it tonight. For hours and hours each day, while we are out working, our children get to experience the natural beauty of our hometown under the attentive care of the amazing Acorn staff. There is absolutely nowhere else we'd rather they be, and we are so lucky for them. The sudden and inexplicable closure of the school has jeopardized everything I have worked for as a mother. Today, I am scared. I am so worried that they are losing the stability I have sought out for them and the irreplaceable experiences they need in this very small window of early childhood. My eldest is set to graduate at the end of this school year, and she should be experiencing the carefully curated rites of passage that Acorn offers these children as they enter that next chapter. There isn't a lot of time until the end of this year. This is a precious time that once lost can never be regained. I'm here to beg you to help give it back to them. Right now, we are telling the children that they're going on field trips, as we've been forced to go find temporary care locations, but that can only last for so long. Our children are young, but they are smart and observant, and Acorn understands that and fosters it. We can only protect them from this situation for so long, and scrambling to find care in the middle of the school year is piecemeal, chaotic, and unsustainable, especially as a family on limited income. So please help us restore Acorn and bring our kids back to the land that they know and love. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've gotten through everyone that signed up on the list, so now I'll open it up. Is there anyone else here who'd like to address the board tonight? This is the public comment portion, so it's on any topic. Yes.
My name is Dave Roberts, resident of town of Augusta, on the planning board, but I'm here as a resident. There is no doubt that having Acorn School in our community is a tremendous asset to all of us. And having a place that can bring children and educate them and put them out into the world under a Waldorf flag learning is a wonderful thing. My own daughter went to Waldorf kindergarten, and she is an extraordinary young woman who will soon graduate from college. I can say honestly that her Waldorf schooling is the option. She is an extraordinary young woman because of that. So I have Acorn School. We're so lucky to have you in our community. I will also say that I want to be supportive of the code enforcement officer in this process. The reason why is health and safety. And I ask that, there's a process here that needs to be followed. I'm sure you'll have the support of the town and the communities to expedite that as much as possible. But it's so important because without that safeguard, terrible things can happen. And last year we had a young girl electrocuted in her head because things were done properly because of shortcuts. I'm not suggesting that these shortcuts were done at Acorn, but what I do know is that the community, your community parents, need to be assured that things are done correctly. Now, in this difficult period, I know that those gentlemen spoke about needing support. So be specific, let us know. We live in an extraordinary community. We really do. And we'll get support on both of those. So let us know what you need, but there's a balance here. The school provides an extraordinary service to the entire, community, not just to you parents. But we also need to follow a way of making things safe. That's, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Hi, friends. I want to echo a lot of what was said tonight. I'm an alum parent of Central. I'm out. My name's Alex Gingro. I sent everyone an email. Thank you if you had the opportunity to read it. The one thing that, in echoing all this, that I really want to bring up that I'm concerned about, I too am very grateful to have a new proactive code enforcement officer in town. This is something that I have longed for. I have had many thoughts over the years. But two things specifically that I wanted to echo are that, one, to watch this happen at a school now really does bring into question any of us who have done renovations, any of us who have opened a building anywhere are all going, oh my God, have we done something wrong that we don't realize? Is someone gonna come and check out our space and close it down? I mean, there's so many questions running through my head that there could be this much subjectiveness in a code enforcement capacity. As such, if there is that much subjective application, for good reason, I understand, but it makes me question. That seems like a lot of power for one unelected individual to be able to wield in our town without any type of oversight from an elected body. And so that's the concern I want to express tonight is I absolutely understand the application of code, following the law. I agree with all of that, but because there was this precedent for the past 15 years of the school thinking that there was compliance, there weren't any code infractions that we know of, to be settled in, that seems to me that there's a reasonable expectation of compliance during that time. So for someone to be able to come in and make a change this dramatic and swift and emergency seeming overnight without an oversight process from an elected board gives me a lot of concern about the power that that one person wields in our community. So thank you all.
I'm gonna try to be brief, but and also emotional. Because I just wanna sort of answer to the comments of this gentleman here. Or respond to them in a way, because I think we have, as I'm a parent of a child, and I think as parents, children are the most important thing to them. We all want the safety of them and their teachers. Of course, that's what we worry when we send them off into the world. And I know from the staff and Motria Shuhan, who founded the school, I cannot ask for a more loving and nurturing environment in which to send our kids off to teach them things about the world that they'll take with them for the rest of their lives, as other parents have echoed. And I have tried to reach out to the town council, to the supervisor, and to people in the code enforcement office to find a specific list of violations that were made. I filed a FOIL request that has been responded to with, we'll look into it. I have not in my hands seen anything specific that the school needs, that the school where the structures need to be reinforced or what the issues are. I know that there must be issues that the code enforcement officer has found, but why as a parent and why has the staff and administration been left in the dark about what those issues are? Because once we find out what those issues are, we can find ways to fix them. And if you truly are cooperative with us, you would provide us with that information so we can get to work. We've already hired professionals and sought out professional expertise for things that we to kind of be one step ahead of the town. Because I don't think they're helping us expedite the issue, and they may have it in their intention to look out for the safety of the children, but we're all doing our best to fix the problem if there is a problem. And I don't know why it's so hard to get that information and keep us in this vague
vague, fog. I know, I generally wouldn't send my child to a school that I felt was unsafe. And I'd like to know those safety issues, and I think that everybody, the team of parents and administration and all the support that they have around them will do whatever it takes to get the structures and the campus up to code, so we can just restart this magical environment that our children. I can't tell you, my son comes home and he talks about how much he loves his teachers, like they're part of the family, as they've given him a world that I could never provide for them. So I'm asking you to please help us, give us the information we need so we can be on our way and make it a viable place for us to send our kids again. Thank you.
Just want to share your name.
Sarah, so Joel, I wrote to you today.
Hi, my name is Stefan Lopez. I live in the town of Rochester. So I know you guys can't do much because it's a contractor, but I'm sure you reviewed all the news in the area, and our local first aid squad has been put into the news regarding mismanaged funds. And it's an allegation, it's unknown at this point, but this is tax money that is being brought in, and I think it needs to be addressed and looked at. I don't know, for sure if it's 100% true, but I just saw it in the news source, but if, the town could look into it.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board tonight? Okay. So with that, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. We have one that we do at the end of the meeting also, but it will probably be very late, past a bunch of bedtimes tonight. I would like to move the town board member time right now so that we can address questions. I'm sure we would all like to say something, so I will open it up to the town board members. Well, I can motion for it. It's not a resolution, so. Does anyone, any town board members have anything you'd like to say?
That's fine.
I'll start. I've been an advocate and fan of Motria and everything she does for so long. And no,
You appreciate
Anyway.
If you guys say your names for those of us who don't.
Sure, I'm Zolly Wynn. You can be assured that the school is at the top of our list of priorities right now. In spite of all the other emergencies that the town is facing, broken heating systems and all sorts of other things. Lack of email systems and everything else, but the school is a very special place. And I've been heartened by the response when I was helping Motria find a place to find some temporary accommodations, and I think the communities shares all your thoughts. Who knew I was such a crybaby?
It's very smart. You brought the kids and they're so cute. So thank you for bringing your two children to entertain me. And thank you for letting us borrow Elsa from Arendelle at cute shows. I'm Charlotte Smeezeth, Councilwoman Charlotte Smeezeth. I have a couple of things to say. The first thing I want to address is the gentleman who did not speak about Acorn School. I would like to say thank you for bringing that to our attention. Not all issues always make it to every town board member's attention right away as soon as they hit a newspaper. We also track different ones depending on which neighborhood we live in. So appreciate you bringing the concern up to our attention so that we are able to look into it and see what's going on
I
there.
don't know if it's true or not, but it's just, it was in the news source that the state police are possibly investigating.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for bringing that up. So that was one separate, just wanted to respond to you first, because the other was a little lengthy. So as a fellow parent, to a small child in the area who attends the local school district, not Acorn, but another one. The abrupt closure of a school, from a parent's perspective, I cannot fathom as a child who grew up in this area. I did deal with that in the public school district with an entire school building having to close because of mold. An entire third of our community, when it was at its largest, during the largest population boom of the nineties and the kids attending it, having to restructure the entire school system and move all the kids from Marbletown between Rosendale and Hopkinton. So I understand the overwhelmingness and I understand the concern for your children and what's going on with them and the safety of their peace and of their emotions and of their actual learning and environment. I completely understand. I will say from a kid's perspective, my biggest annoyance of that whole thing was one of the Marbletown kids stole my wall. So it didn't affect me too much from a student point of view, but and that's not to downplay what any of you guys are feeling. But I will say, I think that might be slightly the difference here. When my daughter goes to public school, and if her school were shut down right now due to a safety violation, I wouldn't be going to the Rosendale School Board. I'd be going to the Rosendale Town Board. I'd be going to my daughter's school board to say what's going on, what's happening. Why is there a building that was unsafe that's shut down there? You know, I also understand where you guys are coming from. Well, through the past 15 years, those buildings have been inspected and the kids are allowed to go in there. From my standpoint at this seat, my highest priority is always the safety of every resident of our town, whether it's they're on a roadway, they're in a public building, they're in their own private homes. We, like, one of the gentlemen brought up earlier, last year, even with the town doing something beforehand at a camp that was violating code, there was a person who was a child who was electrocuted and is still in a vegetative state at this point, even though we did something. So I'm sorry, but when it comes to the children, based off the history that I've had of dealing with noncompliance and where children are kept to be safe at camp or school in this town, I'm gonna err on the side of caution and side with what ensures the safety first, because we tried that already and it went so wrong. I'm not belittling, and I will absolutely support expediting whatever we can to get, you know, as soon as whatever requirements are in, that the code enforcement officer comes out and does a reinspection and issues a CO for, you know, a verbal CO that day if they need to. I'm happy to do that. But at the same point, if we don't know that a building's safe, I'm not comfortable signing off. Like if I was in that office, I would be the one to, I wouldn't be comfortable signing off with reopening the school until I knew that those buildings were safe. Because this meeting could be a whole lot different if one of those buildings fell down while your kids were there with the crowd you guys did. So it would be a lot different on how the approach would be with us. So I completely understand. I sympathize completely with you guys and what you are going through and dealing with. And the need of having to deal with a child with 2 parent schedules and trying to figure that out when a school closed, even when his kid is sick for a day or two. It's really frustrating and can throw your whole work week off. So I sympathize, I understand, I appreciate you all coming out and bringing the concerns to us. It's again, same thing, we don't know if something's an issue that has gone on amongst us, even though there's an ethical and there's a separation between us and the code enforcement office, and we're not allowed to have influence over that. It is still a department underneath the town, which we have the oversight technically over in some ways. And I will say the one other thing I wanted to respond to is that I can't recall who, I believe it was I believe you with the white glasses, whose name I didn't write down while you were speaking, I'm so sorry. The balance of powers and us you commented on us not being able to have influence over the code enforcement office. That's not something we control, that's New York State general municipal law that sets up those different powers that be, so that change would have to go above us, I'm sorry, but just so you know, that's not something that we can directly change. Just so, but thank you guys for coming, and I hope you guys all have a safe, good night home and safe trips, and I hope everyone goes to sleep very easily for you after this meeting.
I just,
Go ahead.
I want to recognize the members of the community who stepped up in extraordinary ways to prevent temporary homes for our children. Alexis Alva, mother of Sonia and the Saplings, specifically Rochester Reformed Church and Christ the King Episcopal Church in Stone Ridge. Their generosity reflects the spirit that makes our community special. As a town board member, I remain optimistic that the town will communicate effectively with the public and exhaust every possible angle to expeditiously reach a resolution. My colleagues have satisfactorily expressed the town's primary intention to provide a safe environment for our children, for everyone who uses public spaces. I want to acknowledge that shared commitment at the outset of everyone in this room. I believe our goal, every party is the same, to find a path towards reopening. I want to underscore how deeply disruptive it has been for our families. The real and immediate damage must be recognized and balanced with the concerns raised by code enforcement. From reading dozens of letters and experiencing this firsthand as the parent of Sonia and Saplings, I can say that the impact is profound. Children are experiencing nightmares. Families are losing childcare during periods of medical emergencies and recovery. Parents are facing economic strain and the specter of paying double for childcare that is also already a scarce and expensive resource. And then, as others have brought up, the existential threat to the careers of Acorn's teachers in the school itself if the shutdown remains protracted. Acorn teachers stay with their classes for years. The bonds formed between students and teachers are unique and powerful. The space itself, rooted in nature, is not incidental, it is integral to the school's identity and to the children's daily experience. The Acorn School is widely seen as the rare sanctuary from the crises of the wider world, especially for our children. During traumas of the pandemic, many families chose Rochester specifically so their children could attend Acorn. In a rural community with vanishingly few family-oriented spaces, the school is social, educational, financial, and even, I would say, a spiritual node of Rochester. Rochester is my community and Acorn is my community. Thank you.
I'm looking at the time here and wondering what kind of negotiations over bedtime stories are happening right now in my absence. Hopefully it's stuck to 2, but she may go for 3. I'm sorry, I'm gonna read and try and address you. I want to start by acknowledging how difficult this obviously is for the families, students, staff, teachers, and the leadership of the school. I know some people impacted personally. My daughter has played with some of your kids. And I have friends whose children grew up in the Acorn School. I've been hearing about it for years. We looked at Acorn School as a possible place for our daughter. I know that's true for a lot of us on the board. This school is something that's deeply valued by families who've gone there and whose lives it's touched. And a sudden disruption to childcare, to education, to employment, that's real and it's hard. And I know from your letters, it's painful. I've read them all. I know all the board members here have been reading them. And I know firsthand how hard it is to find childcare in this area. I know how expensive it can be when you do find it. And I know what it's like when you find a place where you feel like your child is safe and connecting with teachers. So when you were all saying that, it struck a chord with me. I also recognize that the school's been operating for several years, and so a change like this for people who've grown up there is sudden, it's destabilizing. I think it's also important for everyone to understand that the town board was not involved in this decision, which is by design. Code enforcement decisions are made by the code enforcement officer, and they're based on state law, state building code, fire and safety code. And the board doesn't have the ability to direct those determinations, and we also can't waive requirements when it comes to the safety of buildings and structures. I've also heard people saying, and some people saying tonight, that this has something to do with the recent hiring of a new code enforcement officer. And I think it's important for everyone to know that for years, we've been getting a lot of feedback from the community that code enforcement has been inconsistent, that codes aren't being applied evenly to different properties. And it's something that we as a board have been very committed to trying to address. And as the executive and legislative body of the town, I think it's important that we ensure that those standards are upheld. And we really have a responsibility to make sure that the laws are applied fairly, as Erin pointed out from the oath of office, and that there's no favoritism. And so I just want to be clear that I support our code enforcement officer in carrying out the responsibilities that they're obligated to carry out under state law. And I know I've talked to them, and they did not make these decisions lightly, and they're all rooted in safety considerations. So I think that's important to understand. When we're talking about schools and places that care for children, safety standards aren't optional. And you know, a lot of the codes that are in the building code, the fire and safety code, are there because something terrible happened. They're there to prevent tragedies from happening. And you know, if you talk to the members of our volunteer fire department, and I talked to them recently, and they'll tell you that prevention and code compliance are really the strongest ways which to ensure that things like that don't happen. And I understand that people have questions about how the situation happened, the timing. You know, those are all important things to figure out. I know this board is going to discuss those. I know we're going to try and look at what processes need to be in place so that we don't have things like this happening in the future. But I think the most important thing right now is figuring out this situation and figuring out how to fix the school and do it with the safest path forward. I think the most important thing that I've heard in communicating with other board members and communicating with families that are impacted is I'm really confident that we all want the same outcome. We want our children cared for, we want the teachers employed, we want families supported, and we want Acorn to continue to be able to provide the kind of education it's been providing. And so I'm committed. I think we've heard from all the board members that everyone else here is committed in ensuring that we find a way to do that. I think the most important thing for us is that we want to do so in a way that also supports our staff and our town employees, which are really committed individuals. And I know we don't always get to interact with them, but there's amazing people that work for this town, and they're working really hard to make sure that it's a safe place, that it is the type of town that we want to come to and see. So thank you all for coming out tonight. Unrelated, I do have some updates on KFAS and where we are at with them. So
Can I say one thing? Just also anyone who emailed me and not the entirety of the board over the past couple days, apologies for not responding. I did not realize anyone sent me emails separately. If any of you are here, for not responding via email to you, I just wanted to say that. But go ahead, Erin.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out and spending the time. I know this is not a circumstance that, you know, we welcome the attendance, but it's obviously not why we want to have attendance at a board meeting. And I appreciate the town board and your sensitivity and your commitment to this. I would like to answer some questions at this time. I understand that there is it's very difficult to understand what happened with the certificate of occupancy. So I wanted to explain a little bit, as much as I can in broad terms, what is happening and why there isn't a list of violations. So the first thing is that as I said in the beginning, this was a annual inspection. Private schools are required to have a certificate of occupancy for a building, not if you have a building. And when our new code enforcement officer went, he discovered that there was no certificate of occupancy. When that happens, the code enforcement officer, under New York state law, there is no provision that allows them to allow occupancy. So everything kind of stops at that point. So what a certificate of occupancy says is the reason why we have that, the reason why uniform code exists is to say this structure is safe for occupancy, which is different from use. For a shed or pavilion or even a yurt, there are yurts, they exist. You can build one, but in order for it to be lived in, occupied, have employees, run a business out of, it needs to meet the standards to receive a certificate of occupancy. So it's different. There are different levels of like approval. So so what's difficult about that is that's kind of where things stopped, because there's no way for us to say, well, we'll give you 4 weeks of occupancy, right? I know that that does not make emotional sense, right? I understand that. But that is how the law should be applied, especially in a situation where you're talking about living or having children at a school. So it's not the same as an imminent, I hear what you're saying, and I hear that point, but it is not the same as observing something that would cause imminent harm. It's these are two different things. This is saying there's nothing that is certifying that this structure is safe for what it's being occupied for. The path, we have spoken with the school, we are working with the school, we will continue to work with the school. We council to council and officials to officials, we have described the path that our officer has offered. And we have a plan. I believe we will be speaking as well further next week or tomorrow or whenever. But I just wanted to explain that. I'm not saying that makes it feel better or easier, but that's why there's not a list. And I heard that a lot, but if you received the violation, it's regarding not having a certificate of occupancy, and then there's nothing else, because that's what it is. To receive a certificate of occupancy, you apply, you provide anything that would receive that. You have to provide stamped plans, you have to provide health department approvals, there's a whole list of stuff that goes in. Then the code enforcement officer can inspect against that. So that's sort of where we're at, and I understand why it's very difficult to see that, because it is very legal. It's very this is New York State law. The other thing I wanted to address is this idea that this is well, what about all the other things in town? So one thing I wanted to mention is that business uses and multifamily dwellings and resorts are required to have an annual inspection. So your homes and, there are things that you're not required to have an annual fire safety inspection. Do I want everyone to have safe structures? Yes. But what's happening is when the officer is coming to a required inspection, he is a new officer, but as the board mentioned, we specifically were looking for someone with honesty and integrity that would uphold our zoning code and the codes and laws of New York State. That is happening. It is happening town-wide. The board will hear the report that there have been 98 permits that have been put on pause because of issues with the application. We have another business that was closed that also had plans and also is facing financial hardship because of that. And that this is a consequence of whatever was happening in the past. And the course to correct it, unfortunately, there's not, especially when it comes to occupancy laws, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. The other question I wanted to answer is of a temporary certificate of occupancy. The reason why we can't offer that right now is because in order to receive a temporary certificate of occupancy, you have to be in a position to receive the certificate of occupancy. So it's not a grace. It's we have everything we need and you're missing your landscaping or your lighting fixtures. So everything else has to be in place for a temporary certificate of occupancy. And that came up in almost every correspondence I received, so I wanted to answer that. So I'm sure that doesn't make you feel better, but hopefully it helps illuminate some of the questions that you had. I don't have any other topics or anything else to bring up in town board member time. Does any of you have anything further that you'd like to say?
No, but I need to take a minute to call my babysitter and check in.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just take a brief pause. If people would like to leave, we'll just take a pause so that you can do that. And then we will go back to the beginning of our agenda shortly.
Oh, no one can hear. Quiet in the room.
Even after. You're better.
Well, I was- It's, listen, I get comments all the time. Yeah. She needs like. You got it. No, I brought mine. Can I?
Yeah.
That was last week. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah,
I have
It's actually worked really well. I think they work.
Yeah.
One of us had to.
Plans all right away. Yeah. Yes.
Good idea.
My husband right now, I'm saying, I know, like, I think it's safe to be.
Fabric that's on this one.
Good, yeah.
Except a lot of captions that are spoken around. And I don't always know how much I can sit here with that. And it's all nice. I'm glad you think it was.
Sorry? Yeah, down at home. Right, thank you so much.
My first one was that happened, that wasn't yet reason enough to go anywhere, there was no right. Yeah.
Together. Thank you so much, everyone.
And it is really hard.
Yesterday.
I think we.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot, there's a lot of questions. Thank you. See what we can do.
They also have an event here tomorrow, so we probably don't even.
Nobody wants to stick around. Okay. Are we ready to? Are we ready to reconvene? All right, so we'll get back to the top of the agenda.
You stay? I didn't want you guys to feel like.
No, it's fine.
No audience, right?
Great.
Come on.
Okay, so the January financial report summary. So these numbers are not budget numbers. They're the revenue and expenditures for the month of January. I haven't split out the 2025 numbers yet, so I just wanted to explain that. Revenue for general fund is $59,642.76. Highway fund, $565,891.49. Expenditures, general fund, $411,398.40. Highway fund, $251,228.12. Capital and ambulance fund were zero, and it looks like I forgot to put in street lighting fund, so I will get that in minutes. I also have the financial reports, but I found one error in them, so I'm going to fix that in QuickBooks and resubmit those to the board and to the clerk digitally so that you have them, and I will post those publicly. So for the supervisor's report, I wanted to start with a correspondence report. We are, just so you guys are aware, we reviewed the town board SharePoint site at our last meeting, and Alexis, if you want to run through that like one-on-one, we can do that, or you can do that with Michael, so we can just show you how that's set up. But that is there's a document library that I'm tagging for the meeting. So there's like a filter view you can see for the meeting, but all our documents are still available to search in the search bar. What I'm gonna do is I'm adding a folder that's called correspondence. It's in there for you right now. I'm gonna break it out by month though, so it'll be like February, March, April, May. I'm gonna put Stacy, my clerk, is going to be putting all correspondence I receive in there. And then I'll give a summary report at the meeting. This is something that I've been wanting to do since I took this office, but I think it's really helpful for you guys to see I get like so much stuff. I'll give a summary of it, and then if there's anything you want to pick up that I'm not picking up, you can let me know or mention it, and we can add things to the agenda. So just wanted to explain that. The correspondence report in the meeting will be a summary of what's in that folder. So I wrote it and I accidentally separated off the pages over here. So we received 3 calls this week regarding brush. I guess the highway department had a brush hog or something, and we received 3 concerned calls, so we're following up with the highway department.
Sunday.
It was, yeah, we're trying to understand what happened. There's a lot of snow on the ground, so it's a little like, I don't know.
Usually they cut too much.
No.
It like made a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a correspondence from the Supervisors Association. Also, one of our housing committee members circulated this. There's an ADU Expo in Kingston on April 10th. And that is open to the whole county. It's not just Kingston. We received public comment regarding local law B of 2026, which is rescinding the municipal parking law. I received a one-on-one correspondence that was not a public comment. And it was someone expressing concern that we were turning the municipal law into a truck stop. So I put their correspondence and my email to them in the correspondence folder. Because I just wanted to reassure the resident that this was not anything that we were planning. We, wanting to reiterate that we have a replacement law that we're considering, and that we had decided that that needed more work and consideration. I have 3 styles of how we can handle municipal property that I've proposed to the board back in November that we've been looking at. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I had a request to create a parade committee or an event committee from Peter Nelson, because we do a joint Memorial Day parade every year, and every year we plan it at the last minute, and every year we talk about how amazing it could be if we got started earlier. So we, So we gotta start now. We have this, you know, I think to the point, and I think Alexis, you spoke about this and some other people spoke about this, but this issue that we're facing with the school highlights some of the like chronic issues that we face, right? And one of them is the lack of these spaces. And so the idea of making something like a Memorial Day parade more like inclusive, having more to it, utilizing our, I think these are good things that we want to be doing. So that also sort of turned into maybe the idea of having a town event committee, because we have other events. So this is something that I would like to do and that I support. I don't have who would be on it or anything like that. So, but I do think that we should do that. I think we should have a group of people that are focused on those things. Okay. I got a request that the town explore possible actions to address rising costs in electricity. And then a memo that I want to share with the board from Judge Laflamme. And I had invited the justices to a meeting to discuss like operational type issues, and they Judge Laflamme expressed that that would be a violation of separation of powers. And it was just not something that had come up, and I did a lot of reading about it, and I can understand where that's coming from, particularly with officers, that there might be, say, a court issue from a department that would then go before one of the judges. So we have to be really careful about stuff like that. So it made me think a lot about that and some of the policies that we're looking at, the key policy, the camera policy, and just being mindful that there are there's a separate body that governs over the court operations. And it just wasn't anything that we really talked about as a board before. So I thought that was interesting and that the board should see that. Then I got the letters from concerned parents and community members that we discussed. So department and operations updates. I held my first.
Just so you're tracking, we had discussed with Kate the possibility of a committee for emergency preparedness. So I think we should just sure we're aware of that. I talked to John Dunning about it.
Okay, that wasn't in an email that I received, but yes, sure. That was just my correspondence report, but yeah. So department and operations, I held the first department head and supervisory employee meeting. This is a standing meeting that I'm holding once a month. The attendees included the town clerk, recreation director, assessor, code enforcement officer, and myself. I do have an established standing bi-weekly meeting with the highway superintendent and the highway secretary. And the focus of having these standing meetings is, and the focus of the meetings themselves is improving communication, coordination, and operational consistency. I did type up a summary of that department meeting for the board. I will not read that. But the big things that came out is a request to do a training on the email system. And that we also discussed the many building issues that we've been having. And I reviewed reporting protocols for those. We do have a request for the install of panic buttons, so that's come up. While it didn't come up in this meeting, it's come up with the court and the code enforcement office. We also have had a significant leak from the ice dam in this building. So you can see in the kitchen and in the hallway, that caused leakage from the roof into these tiles. So we're gonna wait until the end of the winter and then replace those, but we also need to make sure that there's nothing else going on up there. We also discussed an emergency committee that was brought up because we had opened the warming center and it was something that I was just doing by myself really, and it would be good. We talked about having, pool of volunteers and officials that we could act on that. And it also came up to update our emergency plan, which was written in 2008. So I will share, I will be sharing like reports of those of those department meetings with the board. The other thing I'm doing in those meetings is that's when I'll be issuing budget versus actuals to all the departments so they can see where they're at in a year. So from the operational perspective, we are currently working on improving the town's communication infrastructure. So we created a town Facebook page. Myself, my clerk, Stacy, and Kate are all administrators of that, and we are working on utilizing it. We're up to 44 follows. So you should check that out, follow it, and you can share it with, anyone that lives in the town or anyone you think might be, invite them to follow the page. We're also reviewing and reorganizing the town website to ensure that commonly requested information is easy to find. We are always open to feedback and input. And then we are continuing to strengthen internal communication systems between departments. I think the tools that we have with our Outlook and Microsoft licenses are really helping. I've been utilizing Teams cross-departmentally a lot, which is really helpful. So additional updates, I really need to begin work in earnest on the annual financial report. The first 43 days of the year have been extremely busy operationally, to say the least. But this is now a priority. One of the things that came up in the meeting, and that's in my office, is we annually do a paid time off reconciliation. That has been completed. Since we're now doing that digitally, we have to reconcile like our hard records against the records that the employees have access to. I also wanted the board to know that the community preservation real estate transfer tax is active. It came into effect February 1st. The county administers that. So the forms are generated by the county. And when there is a transfer that is in the amount that's not exempt, that form is filled out and is given to the county. Then monthly, they send a check to me. So we have a page that has all the information on it. We will also have a link to that form on the page, but it does not come to us. So I just want to make that clear. Also, over the past 3 weeks, We have experienced heat failures in 4 town buildings. So the courthouse heat pumps are outdated and do not adequately heat the building when temperatures fall below 15 degrees. You know, I did not know this coming into office and no one explained this to me, but apparently this is how it's been. But this winter in particular has just been brutal because we've had weeks where it's hardly gotten above 15 degrees. So we've had to close court because it's not a safe working environment for AFA staff. So this is something that we really need to address and prioritize even once the weather warms. We're gonna have to figure out how to replace that system. What's challenging is every heating system needs to be replaced. So the highway garage heater went down twice and they were out of heat. And it's repaired and it's operational, but we also need to replace the pipe that the ducts, which did not get replaced, but that will be a few $1,000s. And we're really blowing through that $35,000 that we budgeted for building improvements. And we haven't even gotten out of the first quarter yet. The community center furnace has shut off repeatedly. We've had a repair technician out 5 times. So it's one of the reasons why I've been working so much is because I come here in the morning and check to see if the heat has turned off and I get the heat running, because that's before anybody has started work.
Do we have heat alarms on these buildings?
No. So that's, yeah, I want remote monitoring of our systems because I have to drive here. And
That's not super expensive.
yeah.
Did we not have this replaced when they redid the center?
It was
yeah.
replaced. It's from 2020.
Yeah.
It's the cold. It's an oil system. Our tank is outside. I think there's something with the cold creating too much air in the line and we're getting a hard lockout.
And it's oil?
Yeah. So we're getting a hard lockout. So when there's a hard lockout, the system shuts off and it's just happening overnight. So when staff were coming in, it was like 45, 50 degrees in here. We've had a lot of repairs done. You guys will be seeing those bills. And it seems to be operating right now. But this is the strain that this puts on our building staff, our staff working in the buildings,
Kennel.
right, and the kennel, but that was the 4th one. But that has been resolved.
The transfer station?
No, the transfer station's good. Probably won't be good. I mean, I was joking, it was like Groundhog Day. Every day I woke up and the heater was broken. This does, we came into this situation. It's not like any one of us chose to have deferred maintenance, but it's very disruptive and it puts a halt to everything. And, like Zolly pointed out, this issue here is there's a lot of priority issues in the town, but when a heat is out in the building, my office and buildings stop everything. So we have to address it and make sure it's fixed. So I would love to get this figured out. That is my very long department report. They won't always be that long. So moving on.
Before I forget, your financial report, we need to do the court audit, right?
Yes, I know. I have a draft email for you guys.
By March?
End of March 31st. I have all the reports.
For us to do that?
What?
It's not a conflict for us to do the court audit or
Oh,
powers?
that we have to do
I
it.
just wanted to double check.
Yeah, that's our statutory obligation
Hopefully.
and their statutory obligation to open their records to us. So town clerk, tax collector report.
Okay, for tax collection to date, we've collected $7,054,286. The town tax warrant in the amount of $4,030,720.47 has been satisfied with the town supervisor in 3 payments. The remaining unpaid to be collected is $2,878,632. $1,000.83. I just want to give a huge thank you to my deputies that helped during the tax collection period, Christina Ferrara, Jessica Bowen, and Shirley Lemon. For the town clerk report for the month of January, $50,321.43 were collected. We did receive 3 written comments regarding the proposed local law B that Aaron mentioned, and we're continuing to work on updating records management. I have Brandon here that is 20 hours a week, still inserting plans into our DocuWare system. And that is about all I have.
How much longer is Shirley here?
About another 4 weeks.
I don't have a highway report. I do have department reports. Let me pull those up. I left them in the printer, so I have to read them off. Okay. So the assessor gave me a report and I left it on my desk. I will say that I know, so we are in the final stages of the townwide revow, which means that the assessor's office has taken all of the data that has been collected and put together by GAR, and they are actually going property by property and confirming by person by them that the information is correct. So they're really putting in a lot of hours leading up to next week when they have to have all of that finalized. We do have a public information session on the revow. I would love to see a good showing of that because I know there's a lot of concern about the revow. Let's see, lastly, there's a website that is going to have all of this information on it, and that will be ready to launch in March, and that's part of our contract with GAR. I will circulate that department report to the board, so I apologize that I left that on my desk. I have the constabulary report, and then I have a report from the code enforcement office. So 6 neighbor to neighbor and quality of life complaints, 3 resident traffic complaints, 9 court proceedings remain open. It does look like there were a lot of welfare checks, which that is to be expected with the weather we've been having. Obviously that the snowfall created a lot of issues. One thing that came up in this report is the no heat calls, which I've only gotten one, and we got one when I was on vacation, and those are being coordinated through the sheriff's office and are then administrated through the supervisor. So I'm going to follow up on that because if those are coming through, and it's a assistance call that usually is supposed to be coordinated through my office, so.
Say it again, I would still like to see details about these calls.
Okay. The code enforcement and building department report. We've welcomed Keith into the position of code enforcement officer and hit the ground running during his first week. They scheduled meet and greets with town departments, the planning board, zoning board of appeals, and the Accord Fire District. The office hours have changed. We did this temporarily, but I would like the board to consider doing this permanently from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they've received positive feedback from contractors who are regularly in office. In the last few weeks, they focused on revamping office forms, applications, and certificates, reviewed office procedures to ensure they are effective and efficient. With Stacy Barnes' help, they updated the website with key sections of New York State Uniform Code that contractors and homeowners will find useful. Implemented a filing system that groups by SBL rather than by owner, which is how the records have been grouped to ensure all activities are associated with the parcel, since homeowners can change. completed an internal audit of active permit files and found that 98 permits were granted in error due to insufficient documentation, mostly because stamp plans were missing. Courtesy letters were sent to each applicant to notify them that their permits have been suspended and that they need additional documentation. 2 fire safety inspections were conducted due to non-compliance. Both places of businesses have closed until a plan of remediation is in place and executed. And they have. I have the numbers for everything somewhere, but I can't find it at the time. At the moment. So we are at, just so you know, we have in 4 minutes, we have an executive session scheduled to conduct an interview. So when we do that, we will be leaving, we'll be leaving the room. I had that at the end of the meeting, but we had a lot going on, so it's not quite at the end. But I think we can do some resolutions in 4 minutes. So
Can I just ask the meeting with GAR, that's board members are allowed to come to that?
yes,
Okay.
we are allowed to come as a board, though we're not attending as a board.
Right.
We're attending as community members, so we can't conduct business during that.
Gar, sorry.
The rebound.
The rebound,
Oh,
the guard, the backers, that long.
okay. So.
So moving on to resolutions, so the acceptance of the minutes, the town board accepts and approves the minutes of the January 2nd organizational meeting, the January 8th business meeting, the January 22nd public hearings, and the January 22nd workshop meeting as circulated by the town clerk.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I have 2 donations. Did you have any from St. Paul?
Oh, yes,
I have.
I have the folder. So I have $400
Mhm.
from them, and then the St. Paul's.
Mhm.
This one they put through as a rec fee, not a donation.
This one?
This is one for the bus trip. Yeah,
They didn't put that as a donation.
no.
I see what it is.
It's
There were
the
sponsorship
registration.
things that happened last month.
It was this registration for the bus trip.
Yeah, that was just their program fees,
Yeah.
not
but-
like a sponsorship for like the after school program.
Right.
I just
So
knew we
that
were
went
just
to
talking
us,
about that.
that one.
I think, yeah,
Okay.
just like their voucher.
Okay, so I just have this
Township.
Okay, got it. So I'll make a motion that the town board accepts the donations in $400 from the Commitment to Kids Committee and $90.39 from St. Pauli Textiles.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Acceptance of abstract 2A, so I'll read those amounts out loud to you. The abstract was audited, so I'll make a motion that the town board accepts abstract 2A of 2026 and 14A of 2025 and authorizes the claims to be paid totaling the following amounts. So for 2A, street lighting is $440.16. General fund unpaid is $101,109.23. Prepaid $5,401.54. Highway $64,969.71. Abstract 14A of 2025 escrow is $2,489.42 and general fund is $17,307.86. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries.
I make a block motion to vote on agenda items D and E as presented. Or do you have stuff that you want to present with the mayor?
Oh, for
Here,
adopting the local
adoptings.
laws.
Can I block those? Are you okay with that as presented?
I had,
If you have stuff, we don't have to. I was just figuring I'd get them done before we came back, so next year edited.
I don't have a problem with that. I did actually put Ulster County XXX because are we supposed to file it with the Department of Taxation and Finance?
This is for an exemption?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So I have to send it to the county, to the state. Real property and. Secretaries, real property.
It's Ulster County real property.
I've sent to Ulster County real property, state real property, and then state, a Department of States, very safe.
So I block motion as amended for the FXX at the Ulster County parts of them at the end. To add the real property taxes for the county and the state and the Department of Taxation for the state or for the county. That was missing.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. So we should do our executive session at 8:30. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board enters into executive session at 8:32 PM for the purpose of interviewing a candidate for the appointment of employment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So we're gonna go into the other building.
That's it. Night, Jesse.
Well, I can't be here without you.
You could.
You could be on TV.
Yeah, you can. For all the PSA.
Oh, yeah, we can-
Wouldn't even know.
Jerry will keep an eye on you.
And
Jerry won't let anything go.
Jerry will come sit by me.
Into executive session at 9:21 PM. So like, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna pick back up with our agenda. The next resolution that we have is the
Sorry, are we gonna skip reports and then come back to them, or
what reports?
the board member reports?
I think we're still.
Oh, did I skip you guys?
You did.
I am so
But I just
sorry.
thought you were.
I am so sorry. I did not, I really did not mean to do that. That's why you kept mumbling.
No. Alright, this is not gonna, do we know how we fix this when it does this?
Yeah,
Kate's turn.
I get up on the table. Sorry. Okay.
It must be 9:20.
Can you guys can do your report. I'm so sorry.
So I'll go first, historian. So I met with Heather from Rooted with, in Rochester last evening to help her with, some town trivia for the next upcoming event. I don't know if you're gonna speak about that. They do have their next upcoming event at same time, and I'll let Alexis speak about that more. But it was very interesting. It was nice to get to know her, and we sat down, I showed her the museum, and we talked about other ways she'd like to get involved in the future, which I thought was great. The Historic Preservation Commission met on January 26th. I was unable to attend the meeting, but they are discussing the upcoming year of events. And they are in the beginning stages of starting a farmstead survey. So it would be of all farmsteads in the town of Rochester. It doesn't matter how big, how small. We'd like to start conducting an inventory of where all these little farms were, and if we know the years that they operated. And they're hoping to have a public gathering session in June where they will map out different locations of where family farms have been. So I look forward to that upcoming information. Our next meeting is February 23rd at 2:30. That's all I got. Zali?
Let's see, what am I reporting on? Courthouse?
I spent a lot of time there when they were frozen out. They had to, we called electrician who installed a new outlet so they could plug in space heaters, but the place was definitely cold. Bob Warner suggested that we replace the two older units on the ends of the buildings. Although he did say that the manufacturer still makes units that you can retrofit into those boxes. But I don't know if those would be efficient or whether it's more efficient just to start all over. Still a lot of repairs that need to be done there. For this broken through into place.
Like over the last few weeks.
Yes, it's deteriorating. When they replace the carpet, they will have to remove the heater in the conference room and also remove the metal detector to get the floor clearance to put the carpet underneath them. Place is a mess.
You have a contact at Central Hudson, right?
Mhm.
Cause I can call them and see if we get the service upgraded, if we're gonna look at upgrading. it.
Yeah. Charlotte.
Elder care, not gonna pull the report back up, but they did get an increase in calls, from the weather for, people wanting their furnace checked if it was on or things like that. If it was ever a case where it was something they could assist with, they, got them in touch and called the appropriate, county party, or county department to be able to help them with the situation or get them information they needed. Rec department, the housing committee had their annual or their beginning of the year meeting to try to set their priorities for the year. I was not able to stay until it was over, so I'm not sure what they set for their final ones. Aaron attended also and talked through some different housing. Talked about us joining the pro-housing communities, the New York State one, and other things of that nature. And one. Oh, here we are. On for the Senior Youth and Recreation Commission, on January 30th, the Town of Rochester Recreation Department ran a very successful community trip to the Resort World Casino in Monticello. There were 36 people in attendance. Thank you to First Student Inc. for donating the bus and driver for the day. We appreciate their support. This Friday, i.e. tomorrow, February 13th, there will be a Valentine's spaghetti dinner at the community center. Doors will be open at 6 p.m. sharp. This meal is free of charge. And you must sign up with the rec department to attend. There are currently over 60 people signed up for the event. The department will also deliver to shut-ins who are signed up. The after-school program is running well. Ashley just had a mid-school year staff meeting to check in and refresh expectations. The staff were very receptive. The community center has had some recent issues with heating, so we apologize for any cancellations that took place during this time. Everything seems to be fixed now and running efficiently. Thank you for all of your patience. And our new playground equipment has been delivered. We're very excited for spring to arrive to bring us some warm weather so it can be assembled and installed. That's all for now. I do have a couple other things I just wanted to add to this. So yes, our playground, the actual playground structure pieces were delivered. We still have to finish, approve the final portion of that, which is the surfacing, the borders, and then the labor for the install of it. Everything was kind of, once we approve it, will be put on the first available schedule that they have once the weather breaks enough for them to be able to install. And then there we go. Okay. Other town-wise, separately from my committee liaisons, I did just want to report back that I did speak with a couple times with our town historian, Clerk Gumberg, about the 250th Revolutionary War anniversary and trying to plan an event for the celebration in town somewhere, and maybe in collaboration with Heritage Day. We're working on that. I've found a local group of reenactors to get a quote from for us. Because there is also, I'm not sure if anyone saw, but the county announced that there is a pool through the county clerk and historian's office. There's a pool of funding for 250th anniversaries of the revolutionary events. So it's up to $2,500. And in the application, they ask you to present what you would do if you were awarded an additional $1,000. So there is potential for us to get up to $3,500 towards that event.
Are you gonna dress up?
Yeah, I can. There's some ideas that involve dressing up in some local volunteered actors, not just like reenactors, like teaching some stuff. And then the only other thing I have, it's separate from town, but I do want to bring it to you guys, and I'll send an official letter to all of us so that you guys can have it for the records. But I'm a newly appointed member of our local Rondout Valley Rotary Club. And they have been looking for a project to do in our community during the winter months to help out the community. And I know we had to cut the new chair budget from the funds for the replacing the chairs in here, the wooden ones, whose arms are kind of like ruining their finish and splintering. And the Rotary Club is willing to come in and refinish the arms on all of these for the town if they would like. So I'm happy to help coordinate, and I'll send you guys like an official Rotary letter, but they just asked me yesterday or Tuesday at their meeting, so I figured that gets us at least smooth unsplintery chairs and gives them a project.
I'm about the cushions.
Yeah,
Or reupholstering is what I've been thinking we should do.
I know how to I don't believe any of the other members of the Rotary Club know how to reupholster. They're mostly construction-esque, but I know how to reupholster furniture, so I was gonna offer to also do that. Once I like took a look and saw how many like need exactly what, and some you could just do like pad the leather ones or patches versus.
Yeah.
So, but I'm happy to also do that, but I figured that would be a nice way to repurpose these chairs and get them redone for us.
Great.
I want this one to stay the same.
That one I'm taking the cushion out.
Climate Smart continues work on bronze status. Would like to recognize tour members for their help on several key issues. We're really close to bronze status. Like to just make known that there's a couple of vacancies as well. Rooted in Rochester has 2 more events coming up. Please look at rootedinrochester.org to register for one. One of just a drop-in, that's Rolling Connect at Skate Time, February 21st from 5 to 10 p.m. Then there's an RSVP for the Rough Cut Brewing event, which is going to be a discussion of community projects. So you can go to rootedinrochester.org to submit your project, and then there'll be a discussion of projects and possible future of the Rooted in Rochester project. So hopefully I'm definitely going to the Rough Cut Brewing, but to try to make the Roll and Connect event. So hopefully community, please submit your projects. Agricultural Committee would like to submit their interviewing rubric, and they're requesting the ability to use it in member evaluation. I wasn't sure if we were suggesting or requiring all of our committees to use the same interviewing rubric. So they've given this to us and offered it around to everybody. So just take a look at it. Let them know what you think, and if they could, if it's adopted universally, or if they could use it themselves for their own member evaluation. There was 1 resignation and 1 ended term, and they're wondering if they can have those names removed from the website and advertise the slots as open. The committees are also wondering, again, if they're able to have more, like there's a Facebook page now, so will committees be able to have more social media progress, and they're excited to see where that goes. Then they also sent an update with some more notes that I handed out to everybody. They said that there's still 2 missing right to farm signs, and there's something that the highway department was looking for hardware. I don't know if somebody has a contact over there.
They only ordered 1.
Yeah, they said there's 2 up and 2 still need to be installed.
Okay, it says we installed 4 and we believe there may be still.
There's
2.
so there's 6 is what Carrie's trying to say.
But we have
Yeah.
4, we got 4.
We got 4. All right,
Yeah.
so I'll just tell her 4 were ordered. And then ECC, they had some comment on battery installations, and I thought that there was something on this agenda.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to save their comments about battery for that?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Because they had a lot of thoughts, but beyond that, the pollinator garden at town hall is now complete. And also, again, there's a couple of seats on ECC, so hopefully everybody, there's interested parties, please apply through Supervisor in Allen's office. All right, that's it.
All right, CBA, obviously highest priority there is filling those vacancies on the board. So we had 1 interview tonight. Hopefully we'll get the other applicants available interviews. Planning board continues to stay busy, particularly with some of the larger projects they're working on. They had a few requests for possible changes to code. One of them they came across on a subdivision application, and they just wanted to change that requirement for maps that have to show meets and bounds. For conservation subdivision, they were also looking at kind of a more holistic review. Dave Church was going to look at that and provide some recommendations for clarifications and improvements. There was a question that they brought up, which was whether or not the town in the future would consider holding easements for conservation subdivisions now or in the future. So I think it's something we should discuss as a board at some point. They also had some questions about access to Department of Health records, which has come up for some existing projects where they wanted to get information about what had been approved, what was allowed at the site, what might not have been approved properly. And so I guess it was taking a long time for them to get responses. And so I sent a note to the Department of Health to see if there was an office that dealt with that to see if we could potentially schedule a meeting
It's
with
not their
them.
jurisdiction.
Well, if they need details about what's allowed and they're doing a site plan review. What's been approved? I don't know.
That's not their jurisdiction.
I'm just relaying what was brought to me. And then the other comment they made was, they pointed out that we have a 10,000 square foot max for retail spaces, but we don't have maxes that apply for other types of construction. So does the board want to consider that for other types of building? And then, so ambulance advisory board, I think most people are aware that there was a recent change in leadership at KFAS. I've seen there's been public postings from Squad. I've also seen some other commentary on social media, and Squad has been posting to address some of those things. I did speak with the new chief earlier in the week. He assured me that there were no changes to operational readiness. He also stressed that they still very much want to work collaboratively with the board and with our advisory committee to continue to improve EMS in town. I also, since it came up in some of the public comment today, I want to point out to the public that we're still finalizing contracts with the squads for 2026. So there are not contracts in place and no funds have been dispersed from the town in 2026. And they will not be dispersed until we have contracts in hand and that we have necessary reporting as part of that. And then also this year in the contracts, we did look at adding some additional requirements in terms of being able to get access to information to be able to better track monies that were coming from the town. We reviewed that with our attorneys, we reviewed that with our board, with our ambulance advisory committee, as well as with Ulster County EMS. So that's part of what will be included in the contract moving forward. So we are aware of the need to have additional interactions with both squads in terms of being able to track how the funding is being used, and hopefully in a spirit of collaboration, which I think both squads agree with. And then in terms of the exchange, I haven't really had a chance to connect them at the actual transfer station. I know they just had another clothing event this past weekend, and those have been very well attended. We appreciate everybody who's been coming to support those, and they're diverting a lot of clothing from landfills, and they're helping it get to people who can put it to good use. So it's good news.
I was hoping that you and I could schedule a time to meet with the clothing exchange people.
Sure.
Because we're paying for that flawed.
Yes, I did also. Separately from the department's report, from the actual commission meeting, I was not at their meeting in January, but I did get their minutes and it was discussed
Yes, yeah,
at their meeting.
yeah. So,
And they did want to know if it was coming out of their budget lines or not.
no, yeah, I did clear that up. I did,
I told them I was 99% sure it was not, but
Yeah, yeah, it's not
I was
coming
not
out
the
of their
budget
budget.
officer and I would confirm.
I do like how, dedicated they are. Okay. Great, so then we will move on to resolution G. I'm sorry, we've been very scattered on this agenda. So resolution G amending the 2026 building department fee schedule to add a failure to comply re-inspection fee. I can make this as presented, and then if you guys wanted to discuss it, we could do that. So I'll make a motion to adopt resolution G as presented.
Second.
Discussion. Basically, when someone schedules their inspection and then they have to go back out there, we do have this in we have a line called re-inspection. They want to rename it to failure to comply and change the amount to $75, or they were recommending 100 last year and it is 50, so I did 75. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Are we ready to adopt the key policy, or do you guys wanna look at that and discuss it further?
What's about?
Huh?
What's about?
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that the town board adopts the key policy as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I don't have the resolution from bond council yet, so we're tabling that. And then for J, that we can't amend the wage schedule, but I wanted to get, I have it in our meeting backup that we're requesting 2 positions from Ulster County Civil Service. These are things we've discussed as a board. I've submitted them, but there was a section on the form that it had received board approval, and I asked them if we needed that for the application or for the certification. And no one got back to me, so I just want to pass this resolution so that we're not held up for another 2 weeks. So I'll make a motion that the town board authorizes the supervisor to submit a request to Ulster County personnel to add the deputy assessor and assistant building inspector positions to our list through the application of a new position duty statement for those titles.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Do you need so then the next one was appointments, right?
Mhm.
So I'd like to make a motion.
You have to do the budget on, so.
I can't do the budget mods,
We're taking
which
it.
we have to table the budget mods. Which means we can't authorize the playground equipment until next time, Charlotte, because I don't have the money there. That was why I was stressing.
Are we?
But we can do it next, at our next meeting.
I just don't wanna lose the season
Oh,
slot with the installer, and they only require like a $1,500 deposit or something, I can't remember the exact dollar. So I was wondering.
Well, we'd have to audit it.
Oh, yeah, and it's not
So-
in the thing, yeah, I see what you're saying, I understand.
If you want to get that, we can. Let's talk.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I just don't have, that was what I needed to do. I needed to move that money. And I have to move a lot of money around, and we only have $20,000. So I think I'm gonna have to do a mod for something, for fund balance. For that. We'll look at it.
If not, we just got a beautiful paperweight out back.
Well, it'll get installed. Does it, okay, well, I wanted to talk to you about, we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
talk
we'll
about
talk,
it,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
we'll
letting
talk.
you know
No, no,
that's
that's
what's
fine.
going on with the budget mods. The appointments, so. The spreadsheet that I have does not have term expirations on it. Do you think it would be problematic to say that we're appointing them into their term and then
Into the vacant term.
into their, and then we can update it with the expiration dates?
I think that's fine.
Cause they all expired at 2020, I just don't know what the years are for each of
Right,
them.
right.
Okay. So for zoning board of appeals. We have those terms, we have, those are 5-year terms. And there is one that expires in 2028 and one that expires in 2030. So I'm tempted to do the 2030 for the applicant that we just interviewed, because they've been on before and it's the longer term. So I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Wassell to the zoning board of appeal. To the zoning board of appeals in a term that expires December of 31st, 2030.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. All right, so we'll start with I guess I should do them one at a time, or do you guys, I can do one resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a spreadsheet in the folder, so anyone can follow along. We're gonna do Ag Committee. The Climate Smart. The ECC. Were we gonna do the HPC? We were definitely, and Housing Advisory we talked about. I'll do the advisory committees. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board reappoints the following members to the term immediately following the term that they are currently
To continue
in
a new term.
to continue in that new term.
Okay.
Kari Kosins to the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Nicole Ortiz to Climate Smart. Elisa Sheskin to Climate Smart. Martha Roberge to Housing Advisory Committee. Elizabeth Zeldin to Housing Advisory Committee. And Stephen Springston to Climate Smart Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for serving, everyone.
Yes, yeah, thank you to all of our committed volunteers and committee.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So the other ones we have are of public bodies. So that's Board of Assessment Review, ECC, HPC, Senior Youth Recreation Commission. Do you guys want to do those reappointments? Or is there any hesitation?
Wait, I'm sorry. Which ones again?
ECC, Board of Assessment Review, HPC, and Senior Youth.
Yeah, senior youth, oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Different tab.
for the Board of Assessment Review, I'll do that one. I know that. That term. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board reappoints Julie Goldshed to the Board of Assessment Review in a term that expires September 30th. 2030. Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So we'll do the ECC. Christy, John, and Matthew. Just to get their terms. Those are. Anyone remember the term length for the ECC?
7.
7?
For the ECC?
Yeah, cause I copied. No.
Wow,
5?
I thought it was 3.
I thought it was
Is it
3.
5? Is it, yeah, it is 3, cause that's what I made, I didn't make the housing committee the same stagger.
Is everybody three or is it like?
different.
Climate Smart staggered.
They're staggered.
They're
but
all
it's
staggered by
3, I
appointment,
think.
but they normally all have the same like year terms, but because of how housing committee got like formed in the beginning, we didn't like stack anything, so we had, when we changed the law last year, we had to add a 1-year term, so.
I'm an educated person. My mind is not developed this connection.
Listen, it takes a while.
Okay,
Wow.
so it's 3 years. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board reappoints John Messersmith, Christy Or, and I think that's,
You said Matthew.
and Matthew Dell. To the environment. The Environmental Conservation Commission. In each in terms that expire December 31st, 2028.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. And then we have one person that's not returning and then another vacancy on that board. Okay. I'll make a motion to reappoint Marjorie Bogert to the Senior Youth Recreation Commission in the term immediately following the term that she's currently occupying.
Second. Perfect.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. And I'll make a motion to reappoint Joan, is it Ewing?
Yes.
Ewing to the Historic Preservation Commission in the term that immediately precedes the term that she's.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Anyone else that you guys wanna? Put forward right now? No.
Do we do Carrie for ag?
Yeah, we did.
That's all.
We did all the ag, ECC, and climate smart people. Okay, all right, so we'll have some at our next meeting too. Okay, so. No one's here for public comment. Okay, discussion. The playground equipment install, Charlotte. Can you take us through your quotes? So this is professional services.
That's what I thought, and when I talked with Mary Lou about it, the professionals said like it. Because it has to be installed to a certain standard and a certain safety requirement to be inspected and pass inspection, Mary Lou agreed that the labor for this could be professional services instead of the, capital, the other part of it. So,
I'm just checking a budget line while you.
yeah, that's fine. So the surfacing, we did, the quotes did change slightly since the ones that I gave you guys back in December in the folder for like the full thing, but it was just because we didn't account for like 4 feet in the surfacing in the borders. That square feet that were needed, so we needed to increase it for, I can't remember the exact amount of, it was like 4 more borders, because they're 2 on top of each. It was pretty much like a corner we were missing of the actual surfacing, so that increased slightly the surfacing quote, and then I added just slightly extra labor for the install of like the borders on it. They are all still.
What's the total on the one? You want to go with the company that we source the equipment from, right?
Yes,
Okay.
for this specific servicing, they had the cheapest out of anyone we got quoted from.
What's the total on it again?
It is $12,160 even.
Well, if you guys, we can, because we have enough in that budget line. Because it's coming out of Parks contractual, and we, because we adopted the budget not to detail. I have $14,000 in that code for maintenance, and I can just do that modification myself.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
But we'd still have to get a voucher from them, and do
Yes,
that.
yeah, just so that we can get on their calendars, really all I was concerned of, like, I didn't want them. Like, if it warms up next week and like the ground thaws by the first week of March, like it could be installed the first week.
Oh, wishful thinking.
Yeah.
No, I know, I'm saying, like, if there was some crazy thing, so like, but if we don't have the deposit paid, they won't schedule us on like the first available date, so that's all I was worried about with it. And
I'm sorry, who did we buy the equipment from?
it is All Things Recreation.
So that, but that's not the quote, because what you were talking about was another company.
No, the surfacing comes from them, the labor is a different company.
Yeah, installers are.
The installers are different because they're from New York, I believe.
So these are two separate charges. We're gonna have to pay for the surfacing materials separate from the 12,000.
No, the 12,000 is the surfacing and materials. Correct me if I'm wrong.
From this.
No, am I looking at?
This one is 12,000, 12,000. But it's.
Oh, I see. So no, sorry, I did have them right. I thought I was clicking on two different ones because they were on the same letterhead. Yeah, so that's what the labor is, and then so just the original.
Because this one in the description is actually references the other company providing the borders and the landscape fabric and everything, so I just want to make sure.
Yes, yeah, that comes with our order of the surfacing and the borders from All Things Recreation. They're the ones who put that order through, but then this goes directly to.
This company would install it.
Yes, yeah, and then that's the company to install it. That's contracted through
Okay.
that. That's their contracted installer, so that's why it's on their
I see, okay.
letterhead, their quote.
Yeah, I was confused by that.
Yeah, that's why I thought I was opening the wrong. I was like, did I email you the same two ones in the folder? Like, thought I was going crazy, so.
So the total though,
Is that would be for that. If we have to wait 2 weeks to order the surfacing, that's not the end of the world.
so this is for the install,
Yes.
okay,
What is the surfacing cost?
14,000.
Okay, so they are two separate things.
Yes, they are, they're two separate
charges.
invoices. Mhm.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Oh, gosh, sorry, I thought. I understand.
And this cost is consistent with the quotes that we looked at last year. Cause it'd be about 27,000 for the servicing and the install.
Yes, and the equipment was
14.
It's like 18 now.
Sorry, I have it half in my my personal email and half in the town email because it started before we lost that.
18,295.
18,295, right? Yeah, I say it was around 18. Right?
So
Sorry.
do you guys feel comfortable authorizing that purchase?
The two purchases.
I only care
Okay.
about
The two purchases for the one project.
I think we should do the install first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, as long as we at least authorize the install, so because it's not the
Yeah.
full 12,000 they need either. It's
To
a
get 'em
deposit
scheduled.
of it. Yeah, to get on so that we're able to, like, as soon as the weather breaks, be the first one on the schedule because they have another project. When I talked to them at the beginning of the year and the beginning of January, they have another project at the end of March. That's scheduled in like Pennsylvania. That's like a really big project, so they want to do ours before that project, because if not, they have a lot of like really weird schedules.
So I'll make a motion that the town board authorizes the town supervisor to place the order from Total Recreation Solutions for the install in an amount not to exceed $12,160.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So what I'll do, Charlotte, is I'll place this and then I'll ask them to send me an invoice as soon as possible and let them know when we can, right?
Yeah, so
They would
I'll
need a
send, I'll
deposit.
forward you the original email too. From
Okay.
David, I was just trying to send you like what you needed for the meeting backup. I'll forward you the other one.
Okay, something is done. Body camera policy, Michael, would you, I can explain this and then you did a draft for us.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you guys remember, but, it came up in the interview for a code enforcement officer, the idea of having a body cams as part of what they do. But I don't wanna implement that unless we have a policy that describes how they're used, that they have to be disclosed, and the records retention schedule for the footage. So I don't think we're ready to adopt anything tonight, but Councilman Coleman drafted a policy for me that we'll have to have reviewed by probably the labor attorney that we've been working with, because he's the one that told me that we should have one. And Mary Lou and you, Kate. But did you wanna walk us through anything, Michael?
For clarification, right now, who owns the cameras?
We are not using them.
We don't own any cameras that are being used,
We don't own any cameras that are being used.
if they are.
But cameras are being used now.
Not to my knowledge.
They have been.
By who? Are you talking about the constables?
Mhm.
I don't know of any constables that are using body cams right now. But the policy stipulates that it's town property and that they are returned to the station every shift, because that's how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, like you signed them out like a walkie talkie, right?
Does this also prohibit the use of body cams that are not owned by the town?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Does it, Michael? I've looked at
I'm
it.
pretty sure I
Okay.
included that. But yeah, I think the two. Well, some of the things we need to take into consideration is who do we want wearing body cams, because the policies, a lot of body cam policies, obviously they're as per law enforcement. So if we're gonna restrict it to code enforcement, and I already tailored this so that it covers staff, not necessarily officers. But we should tailor the policy and decide, who exactly is going to be wearing them. I think the other thing is, because a lot of times they're associated with law enforcement, times when you're requiring people to have body cameras active, times when it's optional, and times when it's prohibited, may change depending on who we want to use them. So when I was looking through different policies, a lot of the law enforcement stuff, I don't know if we want to include that just so that we're covered for the future. Because, for example, our constables aren't doing investigations, they shouldn't be doing interrogations or, things like that. But if that is something that we want to have as part of the policy, we should include those. So I left some that I thought were potentially relevant. If I thought it was more of a law enforcement requirement, I pulled them out. Also, when they're not supposed to be used, so there's a whole list if you're doing law enforcement. I just left like restrooms and changing areas. I don't know if we want to include other areas there where where it's prohibited to use them. There's also some questions. So right now, a lot of this would be managed in terms of retention would be associated with the records management officer. I don't know if that's appropriate. We obviously need to track that from a FOIL perspective. And then, the administering the actual maintenance of it would be handled through the supervisor's office. So that's where they would be distributed. And that's where they would be returned to. So it's the first draft. I think it's, it adheres to a lot of other policies that I saw, but I think we just need to look at it and really as a board decide. The biggest decision is who do we actually want wearing these? And then based on that, what types of activities do we want to cover?
I think just enforcement, so code enforcement officers, people who are doing that, and then law enforcement, so constables. I don't know if it's,
Peace officer.
but they shouldn't wear them in the court though, because there's
No,
no,
correct. There's no recording.
there's no recording.
So we should add that
Yeah.
to prohibited.
So we, Judge Laflamme submitted a court camera policy, which, you know, they have to, anything with security cameras around the court has to be approved through Office of Court Administration. I thought it might be helpful to take a look at that. There was a couple comments I had about that. I got it today, so I didn't even put on the agenda, but just in terms of like the camera court placement, we might wanna look at that for reference. And then also I don't know how much you delved into the records retention schedule. But
Yeah,
like, security footage is a temporary record unless you need it for an investigation. It's like, how would you know that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, and I don't know from a code enforcement perspective what the
Right.
requirements are.
So, I imagine that,
How much data do these? How much data are we talking about?
I looked it up. There's like a port, you put the camera on the port and it downloads everything and stores it. And the policy should just be for that, but I think the question is like, there's a minimum storage that we have to do, but like, what would we want to do? Cause you never know.
I mean, how much data does one camera use in a shift in a day?
You're gonna have to say that, I have no idea.
Yeah, it would
So-
depend on their inspection and on their schedule, cause they'd be just turning it on and off when they were there, but like, be recording for like 30 minutes, that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't imagine it's creating tons of data because they're, you know, police sources are storing all of this stuff for a long time, so.
Sorry?
It depends on the image quality.
Police
Yeah, there's
officers are
really
storing
fancy
this stuff for a
ones.
long time, so it's not like it's gonna be petabytes of data, I think. the
Yeah,
compression-
you're not gonna have fancy ones that are gonna require like real-time transmission.
No, yeah, I don't think they need read, but I think it depends for the actual like storage size that each could like. Potentially a day's worth of videos, it depends on the quality of video.
So.
Cause if we have like a low megapixel. quality,
0.5
no,
to
it's not.
3 gigabytes per hour. Generally,
Yeah.
it's 20 to 100 per month.
Okay, so that much.
Okay. Any questions or comments about this policy? Would you guys like to take a look at it and make comments? So it's in our document folder. I just wanted to alert the amendment to the wage schedule, so I had put the deputy assessor position in our budget and in our wage schedule. I spoke with the department, and you're aware that we did not approve of the position that they requested. One of the things that we talked about, that I think they would like to see, and I support, is bringing, because the assessor works a 40-hour week, bringing that position up to 40 hours. Bringing the second position, so right now it's at 35, so in the wage, if we get that position and fund it, it would be, I would have to do a budget modification for the difference of 35 and 40 hours a week. So I would be bringing that, I was hoping to have all that stuff kind of worked out tonight, but I would be bringing that to the next meeting. So I just wanted to alert you to that. If you have any, I don't know if you have questions about that or if you're supportive. I kind of said I would get back to the department on how the board felt about that, so.
Yeah, I think once it's in self-service, I think that that'll be easier to have like the full conversation, like. Cause we've seen, we waited how many years for some positions there, you know what I mean, so.
They told me this process only takes 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Oh.
I mean, I haven't, anyway, so.
I don't unsupport it, I just would like to know the numbers before I fully say yes.
Yeah.
Between the, like, the budget mod number is gonna be, like,
Yeah.
before I'm like, absolutely, like, I'll entertain it, I guess.
Okay, I'll get that all together for you guys for the next. Okay, so I'm curious, what sparked the ECC's battery energy storage?
They said that they had noticed something on one of the agendas, so they wanted to know. What's that about? Battery storage.
This one.
It's agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also, I think like a while ago, you had also attended a training, right?
There was a training and I told the board about it and I wasn't able to go.
Okay.
I think I asked if anybody wanted to go.
Yes, it was a bad time, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of been on ECC's radar a little bit because these battery storage installations are getting to be pretty popular, so you
Yeah.
know, just obviously like two things to think about. One is especially from, I'll just read what their notes are.
Are you talking about industrial size, or are you talking about like home?
I mean, that's the, as you get into the notes, you'll see like that's what they're wondering about, because there's a lot, the technology is vastly different. So Ulster County EMC has discussed battery energy storage systems, I'll just say BESS proposals, focusing their climate smart benefits and environmental and safety considerations. Members of Ulster County EMC, sorry, I'm losing my voice, generally agree that BESS can support climate smart goals by storing excess solar and wind energy during peak production, releasing it when demand is high or renewable generation is low, therefore reducing reliance on high emission power sources. The safety concern, of course, as we all know, is fire due to malfunction. Battery technology is evolving rapidly, with newer lithium systems designed as smaller standalone units to limit fire risk and alternative chemistries, using less reactive metals such as iron. While further research is needed, these systems are broadly viewed as worth considering for grid use. So like the devil's in the details for any specific, situations that we're looking at, is kind of what they're getting at. And then they did a census of neighboring towns, their varied approaches. Hurley has enacted a moratorium while preparing zoning recommendations, so it's kind of something that we want to work together with our other agencies for their input. Ulster is reviewing 2 proposed projects for 250 megawatt and 150 megawatt, and a positive secret declaration was issued for the 250 megawatt project. Saugerties is considering a proposal near a substation in its industrial area with attention to container spacing and fire containment. Shawangunk has discussed safety concerns and misinformation. Its zoning board is considering a potential bid. Overall, municipalities are evaluating best cautiously balancing climate benefits with safety and zoning considerations. So that was the entirety of their notes, and I think that we should just be optimistic but cautious in any proposals that we look at and really dig down into specifics of the science and the tech that we're engaging with.
So it sounds like their focus is on commercial, large scale projects.
What's that?
Those comments are focused on
Yeah.
commercial, large scale projects.
Yeah.
Is that?
But how much, like on the 2 solar fields that the town, that's on town property? Would they be generating enough to?
Those systems are tied, so yeah, I don't know if those would even be wanting this type of thing or not. Can you send that to me, Alexis?
Were you thinking about residential though?
So the code enforcement officer came to me his first week and he said, he already had someone ask about it. Now it's 5 people who have asked about home ones, and we don't have like I think the question is like, what use is it? And how does it get installed? It's not something that like they have a clear guidance on how they're supposed to approve a permit for it, even for a home use.
Also, like fire needs to really be looped in here because
Yeah.
they're the ones that would have to putting out these fires.
Yeah.
Like, do they have experience even with like e-vehicle fires, for example? Because for hypothetically, I can use my electric truck as like a system plug-in for a small like home
Right.
system.
Mhm.
So these are all things that need to be looked at. Both for industrial strength installations and for
So
systems.
he provided a model local law that is issued. So I don't know where we want to take this, and I also need to get clarity as to like. Cause the towns are issuing moratoriums, but I don't think that they have like uses.
But I think they're
Explicitly
talking about moratoriums for
Large scale.
industrial.
Yeah, so,
Or maybe they're not even distinguishing and.
I don't,
I mean-
that's what I don't know.
It's just, I mean.
But I don't know
somebody
if
wants
they
to
even
put
have
like
the use in their zoning code.
Well, that's another thing that we need to do. One way or another.
Yeah,
I mean, but if somebody wants to put like a Tesla Powerwall or two in their house.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should have a permit, just like we have a permit for standby generators, but
Yeah.
it should be encouraged, I think it.
Yeah, because it's, I mean, a lot of people are installing it in lieu of generator.
Yep. But we also have to make sure the fire department's educated, ready, and has the resources they need.
And knows where they are when they go to fight a fire.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
I mean, they're certainly aware of the problem that's coming.
Yes.
from Projects in towns, though.
Okay.
So he gave you a model local law?
yeah, there's a model local law, but it covers residential through commercial.
Yeah.
And I think I can take those comments and meet with the code enforcement office. I don't think they feel like we're ready for anything commercial, which I would agree with. I think they've been approached by people wanting to do residential. And I think the question is that a use? Is this something that they should be issuing some kind of miscellaneous permit for, or do we need to?
Because I know people have installed.
Yeah, no, I think that that's true, and they have been installed in our town. But like I said, any legislative act is gonna take a few months, so if it's something that's allowed, we should,
I mean, I think it should certainly be permitted because there's electric work that needs to be done correctly and be inspected. So yeah, we should look at
yeah.
a residential permit.
Okay, so I'll try to get a handle on the landscape of what is and isn't allowed. But also it's a model law, so we still have to review it, still have to, make it for us, but we can plug it in and take a look at it next at our workshop meeting.
Solar projects, so like residential solar is permitted, right?
Yep.
And there's no mention of batteries.
You know what? I do not have anything memorized at this point, so that's one of the things I wanted to
We
check.
should look, yeah.
Shit, so I'm just telling them we also need. Update.
Okay. Cool. So not a big discussion item. We'll take out a specific ad for the Community Preservation Advisory Committee. I don't remember, but it's very specific in who we're looking for. So I will put that in the ad. I have a meeting with the DOT and Barton and Leadus. Lejudas. They gave me their scope of services this week. I was hoping we could motion to move forward with the project. However, it looks like it's gonna be over budget, and that's one of the things that they wanna talk to the DOT about. So I think it's okay if we table it. I wanna let you know that that document and the updated budget is in SharePoint. So if you could take a look at it, and I'll have updates before our next meeting.
Yeah, I was surprised by the estimate for the construction costs. Seemed like low.
They seem to think that, which one? Did you look at the scope?
Mhm.
Yeah. I talked to them about that.
It was like 600K.
Yeah, I talked to them about that. But originally they thought that we were gonna be on budget, but now it's not.
They think that number is gonna go up, or they think?
I haven't even looked at it. I haven't. So. That also reminded me, so Project 32 load rating has been lowered. We need to open Project 32 extension. The plan was for that, I don't know if you remember, we had lots of budget discussions about this. The plan, it was mentioned that that wouldn't need to happen until next year, but it has to happen now. So, that is a permanent improvement. And I was very conservative with CHIPS expenditures and CHIPS revenue. And it should work out within to include that in the 284 agreement. So that will be a cost. The reopening of that will be something that we will get reimbursed for if it's included in the 284 agreement. There is a quote to have a specific company do the clearing of the trees, and it seems reasonable, but I think we have to follow a procurement policy for that, and I haven't. So at our next meeting, we'll be taking a look at whether or not we should just hire someone for that, or whether or not we have to.
But it wasn't a lot of trees that could take down,
It's not a,
but it's still over our limit.
it's gonna be under $100,000.
Yeah, but
that whole
the
project.
tree removal isn't under the limit.
I need to take a look at it because, I think the quote was for 27,000. And I don't think it's a public works project.
Yeah.
Cause
Has
it's not,
DOT contact us?
I guess it is no,
So
not again,
they're not like, we're closing the bridge
no.
tomorrow.
So if for some reason we schedule a special meeting next week to do like appointments or something, I might want to do that then, because it's the same as the playground equipment. They want to be able to hire someone so that as soon as they can do that, it'll get done. They obviously can't do it like right now, but it only takes a couple weeks. So I don't really have anything to say about the E-code project email policy. I put a clean version of what was worked on in SharePoint for the board, so no red lines. I could not read that, Michael.
I was doing side by sides.
Yeah.
So still haven't been.
Oh, the one that I cleaned up, or the
No,
one
I didn't
he-
see the clean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
I can show you how you can make more magical, kid. We'll
I
we'll
couldn't
put that in
read
the
it.
training.
Okay. All right.
Zali did a lot of comments. I'm
Yes.
responsible.
I deleted all of Zali's comments from the clean version.
I can't control them.
So how are we feeling about the email policy?
I think it's getting there. I think it needs more work. And most importantly, I think we need to tie the policy to how it's actually going to be implemented in terms of the backups and like, what do we want to be automated?
Yeah.
Do we want stuff moved into archive, or do we want? Because people are gonna, it gets weird when stuff starts moving and you're not doing it. So
The sooner we can do it, the better though, because like I know I already have over 2,000 emails.
Can we, because I think we can adopt a policy and then just maybe set up a meeting to figure out the implementation of it. But like, at least the three of us should sit down,
We should sit down. Yeah.
maybe next week.
Okay. Okay. So does everyone feel any further comments about the email policy or
We can-
digital records
We
policy?
can update it pretty easily.
One of the things I'm thinking about is we have these 3 digital record things and they're all separate documents. Is there, I don't know.
You mean DocuShare, SharePoint, and Municipal?
No, I'm not talking about that.
You've got
Policies.
Social media.
Yeah, we have like this, we have the body cams, which is a like,
It's a digital
a
record.
digital
It's
record,
not a
yeah.
communications tool.
So anyway, I don't know, that's not.
You want to make one Google policy.
Let's make it.
This
policy.
is Marble Town. It's an app, it's called that.
You're not going to SCO, huh?
Huh? I'm not, well, let's go, I want my $100.
Okay,
I can agree with that.
and. So then, what was the, oh,
Side of town.
the municipal property law, can you, what do you, has anyone? I would like to present something that we can schedule for a public hearing at our next meeting. I had 3 options. One was like an updated municipal parking lot law that was like, had all these like permitting options. Another was to have a municipal property law that covers our park, all of our parking areas. And there could be a municipal parking lot section.
What are we exactly trying to protect ourselves against?
So one of the things that came up, when I first started thinking I wanted to replace it with something else, is I misunderstood the law, which says the board can, regulate their own property by a rule, or I can't remember it. But that's not the same as a resolution. So basically if we want to protect town property to say people can't be on town property, we have to pass a local law.
So that's a trespassing law to determine when someone's.
It can be a vehicle and traffic law, it can be a property law. Right now, all we have is this law that says you can't park between these certain hours. It's not, you could drive in the parking lot as much as you want.
I vote for property law.
It's very clean to do it that way, I think. And I looked at
Well,
Marble Trust.
trespassing to the state troopers is very clear. If someone calls when our constables aren't available or on patrol.
Yeah. I think I like municipal property because we have other properties
Yes.
that people think when they hear about them, they're like, oh, it's town property, I can go on. It's like, no. The properties that the solar is on and things like that. I think it could be good to just have something. I don't want it to be super complicated, and I've looked at a couple and they don't have to be.
That one looked pretty simple.
Yeah, it's really simple and it allows for the board to pass. I asked Mary Lou to look into this, but the board can pass their own policies for the parking, right? So it would allow, we could put that in.
By resolution.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to do that. Like be flexible based off
Yeah,
needs.
okay, so that's the direction I'll go?
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Sounds good.
great. That's all I got, folks.
Motion to adjourn
Okay.
at 10:29.
All in favor?
Aye.
The chairs like that?
We have to put some away, set 2 tables